Hello and welcome to Bud's RPG Review, where I give my thoughts on role-playing games, card games and board games. Today's review is 6 Seasons in Sartar for RuneQuest Glorantha by Andrew Logan Montgomery, Part 1. In this video I'll be covering the first 2 chapters of the campaign. Okay, first a bit of history. Originally released in 2020 as a 148-page PDF and later as a print-on-demand hardback book, 6 Seasons in Sartar is a 6-scenario campaign that is set around the coming of age of a group of young people in an isolated mountain clan that is based on the author's popular blog series of the same name, having been rewritten, expanded and revised for this book. Additionally, it is the first Johnstown Compendium title to attain platinum bestseller status. Right, to the cover. Here we have a piece that is either an original piece by the author or one drawn from the public domain that has been modified. It's not specified which. Either way, it's a decent piece that is particularly relevant to the campaign. To the inside. We have a nice paragraph in the time-honoured RuneQuest tradition where it espouses the glory of Homeland, which is really well done, and then once we get past the credits and content, we move on to the introduction. Welcome to 6 Seasons in Sartar. Here the author goes into a bit of the history of the campaign and talks about it all beginning in the early 1990s when he decided to run his own campaign, having studied the likes of Homer's Iliad and Odyssey, the Epic of Gilgamesh and the Mahabharata, as well as being a fan of the White Bear and Red Moon board game. A particular line stood out for him in those rules about Argrath Dragontooth and the constant war between the Lunar Empire and Sartar. He went on to enjoy the lunar epic poems such as The Fourth Inspiration of Monsoon, the Harik Saga and A History of My Black Horse Troop, finding them almost as enjoyable as Glorantha, and became fascinated with the notion that there was ancient literature detailing the hero wars. He decided that his own campaign would be based on a Third Age text of his own invention, 6 Seasons in Sartar. He decided that it was put together by Usufus of Johnstown. It detailed the fall of the Hadeborn clan and the heroes that rose from this downfall. It was composed of 10 rhyming couplets and written in Southern Thalian, was alliterative and designed for someone to sing or chant, such as the Hjortling custom. The author advises that there have been a number of versions of 6 Seasons in Sartar over the years, and that this version is designed in order to let you make your own version of the tale. He also states that throughout the book there are a number of box outs where various COD scholars of Glorantha give their insights and interpretations of events, as well as portions of Usufus's original poem, like this one here. And it buys into the whole "Your Glorantha may vary" edict, as voiced many times by creator Greg Stafford. Nothing here could be classed as canon, just the musings of pseudo-experts. So after this we move on to how to use this book. The tale being told here is about the fall of the 13th Kolimar clan, the Hadeborn, and it follows it as experienced through a group of young adults over the course of, as is implicit in the title, the 6 seasons between Cease Season 1619 and Cease Season 1620, with the book being divided into 12 chapters. The first chapter introduces you to the Hadeborn, discussing their culture, cult and cultivation, and chapter 2 guides the creation of starting characters there. The third chapter is a treatise on hero questing, with the 4th and 5th chapters providing 2 examples of adulthood initiation rites among the Hjortling, alongside how to treat gender roles in a way that suits your gaming table. The campaign runs from chapters 5 to 10, with chapter 11 discussing where to take the characters after 6 Seasons in Sartar. Chapter 12 talks about how to do mini-episodes throughout the campaign, the likes of marriages, cattle raid, childbirth, that are there to essentially round out the lives of the Hadeborn. There are grey and brown box outs that provide advice for GMs, as well as quotes by scholars of Glorantha, where they offer varying points of view. We're also told that it took 30 years, 4 game systems and 5 gaming groups to put together 6 Seasons in Sartar as it stands today. Okay, so with that in mind, we move to chapter 1, the Hadeborn. Between Mount Quiven and Mount Cagradus in Sartar there is a V-shaped valley that has been the Tula, a place sacred to the Hjortlings, to the clan of the Blackstag. One of the children of Hakam, the Blackstag laid claim to the valley before time, challenging the 7-tailed wolf and driving it and its pack away. The Blackstag married Running Doe, a mountain stream that cuts through the valley, known today as Deer Run, and made the place safe for their children. The albino ghost deer are unique to this place. When the Lesser Darkness occurred, the warband of Josticus Forked Spear wandered into the Vale, shocked to find the place not laying waste like the rest of the world. Jostakos killed Martyr Fawn, and the Blackstag visited his wrath upon them, shaking the earth and sealing the veil. To appease the Blackstag, Jostakos promised that when Chaos had been defeated, that their line would remain in the veil to replace the child Blackstag had lost, to which the Blackstag agreed. However, Running Down, being not so easily appeased, cursed Jostakos, telling him that he would return to the veil to be buried alongside her slain child. Jostakos fell during the darkness, and his sons brought his body back to the veil and raised a burial mound over him. This was, in essence, the birth of the Blackstag Clan. After time began, the Hadeborn had a quiet existence, isolated in their vale and worshipping Orlanth and Enalda, while honouring Blackstag and Running Doe as their ancestors. They had occasional skirmishes with the Telmori, who were in turn pushed by the Seven-Tailed Wolf in order to try to retake the Vale. However, the Hadeborn drove off the Telmori many times, the same way their guardian spirit, the Blackstag, or Whiter as they are known, had done in the God's Age. During the Empire of Worm's friends' rise to prominence, the Whiter answered divinations concerning them, counselling against believing the lies and deceptions of dragons, and as such the Hadeborn remained free of draconic mysticism, while other surrounding clans embraced it, staying true to their old ways while remaining friendly to their neighbours. Unfortunately, due to pressure from these neighbours and warnings from divinations, the Hadeborn entered into a self-imposed exile in 1118 ST, burning their homes to the ground and heading south. The following year, the great dragons visited their wrath upon the pass and killed every man, woman and child. Their Whiter, being bound to the Vale, could not accompany his kin south, so sent one of his sons, Whiteheart, to be their Whiter. Unfortunately, after the dragon kill, the Hadeborn were forced to wander around, selling anything they could provide in order to survive, along with the other displaced and destitute people. Despite this, a change was in the air. Jorn and Shade Chaser challenged Barnor, son of Grud, for the chieftainship of the clan. Shade Chaser was known as being troll-touched, born with black hair and eyes and tied to the Darkness Rune, a legacy of one of Jostakos' warband, a dark troll called Ungbar Zakbak, who was entombed within the Vale. This resulted in a small number of the Hadeborn being troll-touched. Jorn took over the leadership of the clan and took them to the court of Ezcankeko, the only Old One, the founder of the Kingdom of Night and son of Arganagar. Jorn was recognised as being troll-touched, and the clan became friends of the trolls and were employed as mercenaries in his armies and given homes. The Hadeborn flourished for almost 200 years in Ezcankeko's service until he was killed by the Pharaoh in 1318 ST, which put an end to their time in refuge. The White Heart was consulted with divinations, and it was determined that it was time for the Hadeborn to go home. They returned to find the Telmori had taken the Vale, which was once more ruled by the Seven-Tailed Wolf. The Blackstag and Running Doe imprisoned and their children in hiding. The Hadeborn had to retake it, which was at a violent cost. Stag Hill was retaken in 1328, and the clan chieftain performed a hero quest to reenact the Blackstag's victory over the Seven-Tailed Wolf, which freed the Whiter, and the Ghost Deer population produced a royal for the first time in centuries. The Telmori were driven out once again. An era of peace and prosperity followed. The Hadeborn were once again part of the Collymore and became supporters of the Prince of Sartar. The Doe and Stag were once again honoured and the old ways were once again observed. That was until the Lunars came. The Blackstag followed the Collymore king, Kenstrel, at the Battle of Grizzly Peak and lost their own chief, Kentrel Bargason, and a generation later there was a lunar puppet on the throne in Boldholm and the lunar waves were spreading through the land. Since then, the Hadeborn have become more isolated, clinging to the old ways and an embarrassment to the Collymore king, Kangal, their clan mostly forgotten. The people of the Blackstag have runic ties to the Storm Pantheon, and as such have the Air/Storm Rune, Earth Rune, and a small percentage, i.e. those who are troll-touched, are tied to the Darkness Rune. These are the elemental runes that they are required to select initially. The Blackstag itself is associated with Air, Beast and Earth, and receives a portion of the sacrifices. The White Heart is associated to Air, Beast and Spirit. Next we move to the nature of the clan. It is essentially a coalition of allied farmers who share history and culture together. They teach and support one another and serve the community by farming, herding, guarding their borders and the like. All able-bodied men will serve in a Fiad or clan militia, while women are expected to cook, clean, sew and care for the children, as well as treating injuries. In return for this service, the clan looks after all of its members with food, shelter and clothing, as well as education and training. Before the Lunars came, the clan's link to the Blackstag was undisputed and had the support of the spirit of the land, as well as being respected by all neighbours. Normal time-honoured traditions like cattle raids were performed, but the Vale was acknowledged to belong to the Hadeborn, who were respected for their adherence to the old ways and loyalty to the tribal king and Prince of Sartar. The Lunars arriving essentially meant going unnoticed, which is luckily something the Hadeborn are great at doing. They have a tax demand of 1 cattle for every 2 free adults per year, though the Lunar estimation of the size of the clan is around a third short, and despite the Lunars banning the worship of Orlanth, the Hadeborn continue as they have always done. They are described as essentially a conservative mountain clan, devoted to the storm gods, time-honoured tradition and the old ways. They avoided draconic mysticism under the Empire of the Worm's Friends, and in turn avoided lunar mysticism. They are as much as you would expect an Orlanthi tribe to be, and have passions drawn from love and devotion to storm deities, earth goddesses, their clan, the Kolimar, and their family, and hatred towards chaos and the Lunars. They're the 13th Kolimar tribe, who were in turn one of the 24 tribes of Sartar, owing allegiance to the throne at Boldholm, and consider the current occupant, Temetane, to be a lunar puppet, as they have held power since 1602. The Hadeborn are considered a smaller clan, at around 450 members, and are about 15 kilometres from Boldholm. Their vale runs around 7 kilometres in length, from a narrow southern opening where they have fortified palisades, up to Hadeborn Falls near the north end. The vale is quite narrow at around half a kilometre, with heavily forested steep slopes. The creek, Deer Run, flows the full length of the vale. At the north of the vale there is the forbidden dragon-new citadel of High Worm, and they are neighboured by the Antlings and Njossi to the west. To the east is the Quiven Mountains, and the Sambari, who are warlike and famed for their ferocity, are to the south. The Telmori occasionally come down from the Quivens to raid the vale. The Hadeborn live in a dozen steads that belong to single extended families along the banks of the Deer Run, and are homes of cattlemen or carls, the middle class of Orlanthi society. Paternal grandparents, aunts, uncles and cousins will live together in longhouses, and even with their cattle during the winter. Each stead can hold around 15 to 20 people and 30 to 40 cattle, as well as sheep, pigs and geese. Children tend to refer to aunts and uncles as their mother and father, and once old enough are expected to assist in tending the livestock and fields. The head of each stead holds the status of Thane or horseman, and considered one of the leaders of the community. It names all of the steads that are included here on this map here. Between the steads are cotters, or cottages, the homes of the sheepmen. These are the lower class of Orlanthi society. The cottages are usually round with thatch roofs and home to 1 or 2 families. Most are hunters who supplement their diet with rabbit, boar and pheasant, and they are forbidden to hunt deer. In the centre of the vale is the village. The clan has 6 members of the inner ring, that includes the chief priest and priestess, chief weapon thane, law speaker, champion and skald. There is also Borgar, son of Goodin of Riddlewatch, who is a trader between the Vale and Boldholm, as well as the master redsmith, Havar, son of Horvik. The villagers are supported by the families in the steads and chieftain in the hall. The hall itself is on a low conical hill that overlooks the village and is protected by wooden palisades with watchtowers. It's the abode of the chieftain and their family, and where the clan ring meets. The position of chieftain is an elected one, and the clan ring is a council of advisors made up of the most powerful or influential members of the clan. There are 2 rings. The inner ring, which has 7 positions, that honours the number of Lightbringers, and the outer ring, which has 8 members and is the leaders of each stead, as well as the Isseries merchant Borgar and redsmith Harvar. The outer ring advises the inner ring, and the inner ring in turn advises the chieftain. When events start in C season of 1619 ST, it consists of the chieftain Gordangar, the chief weapon thane Jorganath Bladesong, chief priest Savin of Orlanth Thunderous, chief priestess Morganath of Enalda, law speaker Jodie Whiteheart, a Lancormai sage, and the champion Ernina Copperaxe, a rune lady of Babista Gore, as well as the skald Celadon Blueye, a bonded Ermali trickster. The 8th member who does not attend the meetings unless they're of dire importance is the Royal, a son of the Blackstag who appears as a massive stag with a mane of white hair and bone-coloured antlers. He is the chieftain of the beasts and leaders of all animals in the Vale. It's unknown if it is the same Royal or if he keeps on reincarnating, though when he appears he commands all the deference that is owed to the chieftain and is also the master shaman of the White Hart tradition. The Hadeborn have a number of holy places. The Vale itself is the centre of the Blackstag's power, though there are places where it is more pronounced. There is Stag Hill, a mound of earth around 20 metres high and 70 metres in diameter that is capped by a ring of 7 standing stones. This contains the ancient graves of Jarstakos, and also it is said Ungbar Zakbach, who is the source of the darkness rune of the clan. Orlanth and the Thunder Brothers are worshipped atop the hill. There's also the Riddle, accessed via a perfectly square entranceway and carved into the base of Cagradus. It dates back to the time of Orlanth, maybe even the Green Age. It contains a labyrinth inside where sounds are muffled, torches will not burn and darkness prevails. It is the place of initiation for the women of the Hadeborn shortly after their first menstruation. They are led inside by the Earth Priestess and no man is allowed to enter, though this does not apply to the Nandan when their true nature becomes clear. When a woman of the clan dies, their body is carried inside the darkness of the riddle. To each side of the riddle are shrines to Sartar and Aralda. The final holy place is on top of a cliff around 600 metres above the Vale, the Royal's Grove. It's a circular clearing that sits under a huge oak and is the place where the Royal holds court over the beasts of the Vale. The Whiter is contained within the oak. Anyone taking the Shaman's path can only do so with the Royal's instruction and blessing. Most of the Hadeborn men worship Orlanth Thunderous as the Rainbringer, and Wednesday of Movement Week is a holy one, where they gather atop Stag Hill and its slopes to worship and sacrifice, usually led by Savan or one of his junior priests. The hill will be crowned in mist to block it from the sight of the profane, and thunder is often heard in the Vale, and the sky lit by lightning. Wednesday Movement Week storm season is the High Holy Day, with longer rituals, and the Wednesday of Sacred Time is also holy. Almost all of the women are initiates of Analda, and every clay day they worship around the hearth while the men toil the fields. Children, though often present, do not participate, and minor prayers and offerings are made for health and fertility. Clay Day on Fertility Week causes a gathering of the women before the riddle, led by Morganeth and her priestesses, and these are forbidden to men and children. Analda's High Holy Day sees Morganeth leading a procession of women into the riddle with a rite performed in darkness. Lastly, God's Day Death Week storm season is marked as the day Jarstakos killed the martyr fawn and worship is given to the Blackstag and Running Doe, and the day that lay members, i.e. those who married into the clan or were adopted by it, are initiated as Hadeborn. The Hadeborn clan and White Hart cult overlap considerably, meaning that a member of one almost guarantees membership to the other. One can become a Hadeborn by being born into it, marrying into it, or being adopted. As a clan member, they owe allegiance to the chieftain and the ring. They must respect the royal and the gods the tribe worship. Children under 16 are usually lay members and are obedient to the adults of the clan. Anybody who marries into it or is adopted are considered children until they perform their clan rites. As a member of the clan, they are sheltered, clothed and fed, as well as learning basic clan skills. If they're captured, they'll be ransomed or rescued. They'll be taught to speak Hjortling if they can't already, and all the Hjortling customs. Next we have a rather large box out called The Elements of Hjortling Ritual. Here it breaks down Hjortling rites, explaining that they are usually in 3 parts: prayer, sacrifice, and crossing over and return. A prayer is usually chanted or sung in groups with music and dance, and are very important, usually performed in storm speech. This is followed by listing the attributes of the god, explaining why they or their aspect are being called upon, and must be appropriate to what is being asked for. The petitioner will remind them that they have made sacrifices or services in the past, and finally the god will be told what is being asked of them along with a description of the sacrifice. This is usually done stood up with head bowed and arms raised, with palms up towards the sky, though the cultists of earth goddesses often kneel and put their palms to the ground in front of them, touching the soil with a bowed head. The next portion is sacrifice. This is a link between the worshippers and the gods, ordained in this manner by the fact that the gods sacrificed all that could be in order to create what is. The creation of time and the separation of gods and mortals. The size of the ritual decrees the sacrifice required. Normal offerings would be food and drink, along with the burning of expensive incense. For greater rituals, on holy days, it could be things like valuable items, livestock, and even locks of their own hair. They're usually burned with a portion retained for the sacrificer, an important aspect of it symbolising sharing the sacrifice with the deity. This bridges the gap between them. Small personal daily offerings are usually cast into the hearth at their home, with the goddess Mahome invoked to take it on behalf of the worshipper to their deity. The final stage is the crossing over and returning. A bridge is created to allow the participants to cross to the god's plane and return bearing power, and the extent that they enter the plane is based usually on the importance of the person entering, with rune masters and devotees truly experiencing god time completely. After this we move on to initiate membership. All initiates must be adults and members of the clan by the methods outlined earlier, and undergo a formal initiation on God's Day Death Week storm season, as well as having the clan tattoo, a rampant stag. They have the requirement of serving the clan, chieftain and ring, and must be lay members of a storm cultif men or earth cultif women, as well as abiding by the clan laws. The mundane benefits are an entitlement to vote for the chieftain and on important matters, and the skills they are taught are the likes of farm, herd and craft skills such as red smithing. If they give 90% of their time to the clan, they receive the benefits of 100 lunas of training each season. Spirit magic is based on the assumption that Glorantha is a magical world and that lots of mundane spells exist. Things like hand gestures that ward off disease or magically enchanted singing to soothe a baby off to sleep. Magical instruction is usually handled by the cult, not the clan, though some exceptions exist. Things like men who train for the field will learn the likes of detect enemies and protection, equating to 50 lunas of training per season, and women might learn heal, repair or sleep in a similar manner. In addition to this, they are full members of the White Heart Spirit Cult, opening up the option of clan members being able to approach the clan shaman to buy spirit magic, using goods and labour or even cash. Initiates can access common rune spells and the clan spells provided by the Blackstag and the White Heart. In regard to divine intervention, it needs to be stressed that the Blackstag is not a god and is limited to a strict local boundary within the Tula. Outside, it is powerless. It is noted that they cannot call upon the Whiter and their deity for double the chance of success. The clan doesn't have any rune lords as such. The chieftain and weapon thanes fill that function. They are the champions of the community, and it is noted that they are usually rune lords of other cults such as Humac or Orlanth, alongside all of the benefits that offers. It is a similar situation with rune priests. The royal serves this function and is the chief shaman of the White Heart Spirit Cult, while the chieftain is the worldly arm of the Blackstag. The White Heart represents it in the spirit world. There are a number of rune spells that are unique to the community, such as Stag's Crown, which causes the user to spout a rack of antlers that can be used to fight with. The Stag's Leap, which allows the user to make a huge jump from anywhere to anywhere else in the Tula. Deer Brother, which lets the user mind link with the nearest deer, seeing through its eyes and ears. And Break the Wolf, which enchants a totem with a ghost deer skull atop it to automatically cause invaders in their lands to be hit by a demoralised spell, and these are often carried into battle to repel invaders. We also have the stats for the Black Stag. This is followed with details of the associated cult, that of the White Heart Shamans. Originating from the time of the Hadeborn's exile, the Black Stag sent his son to travel with the clan, and it kept the clan united while in the Holy Country, and when they returned to the Vale, the Black Stag and the White Heart fused into one. When someone joins the clan, they are automatically considered to be members of the cult, though full initiates must be approved by the royal or shamans. An adult Hadeborn in good standing will be welcomed, and membership is encouraged regardless of other cult ties. The Royal's Grove is the focus of the power for the cult. The White Heart has its own shamanic traditions, and clan folks can pursue this path towards being full shamans, which is learned under the Royal. After this, we move on to Chapter 2, Characters. When playing 6 seasons in Sartar, characters are rolled up using the same principles as in RuneQuest Glorantha, with a few specific changes. It's noted that they start play a bit younger and less experienced than standard characters. It starts in C Season 16-19 ST, with them around the age of 15 or 16, essentially playing inexperienced characters. Step 1 is deciding on the Homeland. This will be Sartar, and they will have the passions of love for their family and loyalty for the Hadeborn and the Kolimar. Step 2 is the family history, and it needs to be decided which parent or grandparent had the most influence, and they also need to be Hadeborn, who, like most Sartarite clans, practice mixed descent. In game terms, they are born into the clan of the parent with the highest status. For example, a child whose mother was an Njossi chieftain's daughter and father a Hadeborn farmer will be an Njossi. Also, they need to decide on which part of the Vale they were born, one of the single-family Kotar, the large steads, or a noble who is part of the chieftain's immediate family. This is determined using the standard of living table. Destitute equals Kotar, poor equals Carl, free equals Thane, and noble is the chieftain's family. Gordangar can be picked as the father of a noble. No rolls for 16-19 onwards are required. Step 3 is Rune Affinities. The Hadeborn have air, earth or darkness, and most men will have air, and similarly most women will have earth. Step 4 is Characteristics. All that's required here is to use the Sartar box for cultural skills and weapon modifiers. Step 5 is Occupations. As the characters are 15 to 16 years old, the occupation is their parents. The characters just picked up some of their skills. Some occupations, such as bandit, chariot driver and the like, are unlikely, though if it is really desired by the character, then they should discuss this with the GM. Step 6 is Cult. The campaign begins with, or at the very least right after, their adult initiation rites, and as such they won't be initiates of any rune cult yet. It will, however, make them initiates of the clan, giving them access to the common rune magic and the community spells, as well as initiates of the Black Stag. They receive 3 rune points to spend in this way, and all Hadeborn women are lay members of Analda, and men lay members of Orlanth, and as such receive their cult starting skills, spirit magic and passions in this way. Other cults may be joined in the course of the campaign. Step 7 is Personal Skill Bonus, and it's advised that this step is skipped, though it could be revisited after Chapter 11. Finally, there is Step 8, Other Information. All that needs to be remembered at this stage is that the characters are 15 to 16 years old, not 21. Their clan is the Hadeborn and the tribe is Kolimar. After this, we move on to NPCs. There's a simple rule of play where an NPC should only be given details that are required. They're roughly divided into 3 groups: protagonists, antagonists, and supporting cast. Essentially the players, the threat to their characters, and everyone else. All are given a name, and this is followed by the character rating or CR. There is characteristics where antagonists gain whatever is needed, and human and elder races gain all 7. Additionally, magic points, hit points, and movement are listed. Supporting characters don't have characteristics, though they may have 1 or 2 that stand out. For example, the beautiful farmer's daughter may have a charisma of 16. All characters should have a personality, and this could also include the likes of passions and runes. It recommends putting a descriptor next to a rune to help portray characters. For example, you could have fertility 70% with nurturing or even sexual, and the runes are listed here alongside words that could be associated with them. They should also have motivations listed as well as distinctive features, with some interesting ones listed here. Skills should only include what is needed to define the character. Combat stats are required for antagonists only, and anybody else should just be assumed to have what they need. And then finally, notes, which help bring them to life. Character rating is described as a shorthand system of approximating a character for the campaign, and is a method of determining their ability from 0 equaling no challenge to 10 being a serious challenge. The way to determine CR for characteristics and hit points is 10 plus CR. Skills are CR times 10. Hit point per location is the total divided by 3, with +1 for chest and -1 for arms, and a number of spirit magic or rune points equal to their CR. It then uses this method to flesh out the clan ring. It firstly stats out Gordangar, the chieftain of the clan and a wind lord. This is followed by Jorganath Bladesong, the chief weapon thane, and a sword of Humact. There is Morganeth, the chief priestess of Analda, and then we have Savin, the chief priest and storm voice of Orlanth. We have Jodie Whiteheart, a sage of Lancor Mai. There's Anina Copperaxe, a rune lady of Babistagor, and then finally Celadon Blueye, a bonded Urmali trickster and chief skald. The outer ring consists of Broker, a golden tongue of Isares and merchant, and Harvar, a redsmith. Okay, that concludes part 1 of 6 seasons in Sartar. The next video in this series will include Chapter 3, Hero Questing, Chapter 4, The Riddle, and Chapter 5, Rites of Passage.